What are the 5 core sources of power that the best players in the world use to crush their shots, not only with that effortless experience, but also being able to hit the ball as hard as they want while still having it go in? By the end of this video, we're gonna start with the 5th source of power and close with the number 1 source of power, as well as the 3 most common mistakes of that power source to empower you with the ability of crushing your shot effortlessly as hard as you want while still having it go in, being able to bomb flat, or being able to generate that heavy topspin consistent shot. So let's dive right into power source number 5. The next time you watch a pro match, you'll see something that the pros do before, during, and after every single shot, which is their stance is gonna be at least or greater than their shoulder width. This is because it allows them to tap in to power source number 5, which is forward weight shift. By the pros being in a wider stance, what it allows them to do when they set up on their forehand is it empowers them to generate force from shifting their weight from their back leg to their front leg. And if I just demonstrate right now the amount of acceleration that I'm able to generate from my arm versus if I'm generating a forward weight shift, you'll see a striking difference. So in this first example, I'm gonna have a narrow stance and I'm gonna focus on just generating power from my arm. And you'll see that not only is it gonna be less power, it's gonna be less consistent because trying to generate all the power from my arm is gonna take away from my arm's ability to just focus on placement. Whereas conversely, if I widen my stance and I really emphasize that forward weight shift, it's not only gonna give me more power, but I'm gonna be able to use more consistency from the arm, thereby allowing you to be that player at your club or when you're playing with friends to just be able to hit the ball as hard as you want while still having that consistency. That's power source number 5. Let's transition and cover power source number 4. When the pros are putting away their hardest forehand winners, they're tapping in to this 4th source of power, which is also directly connected to source number 5, which is gonna be leg drive. So when the pros are setting up, especially on high easy balls, what they're gonna focus on doing is as they load, they're gonna focus on shifting their weight forward, number 1, but then number 2, extending their knees, driving their legs, generating that forward force. And going back to the previous example of generating forward weight shift, just like on the serve, watch, when I load up and I shift my weight forward, you'll see a specific biomechanics angle is created from my knee to my foot, which is, if I'm shifting my weight forward, notice how my knee is now positioned in front of my toe. This is now going to allow my leg drive to not only create force from the ground, which is then going to translate into racket head speed, but by tapping into forward weight shift, leg drive is now going to create forward force. So if my knees are straight up and I drive my legs, my weight goes up. But if my knees are to the side and I drive my legs, my weight is going to go forward. So to bomb your shot with that huge amount of force, by focusing on when you set up, shifting your weight forward and simultaneously driving your legs, you're gonna get the maximum amount of force from the entire body as you drive your legs up and go forward into the shot, just like that. So that's power source number 4, connected to 5. Let's now jump into power source number 3. If you want to be able to bomb your forehand as hard as you want and still have it be consistent and go in, you need to achieve this crucial checkpoint that every pro achieves on their forehand, which is responsible for power source number 3. So if we break down any top pro forehand, you'll see after they split and as they execute their unit turn in their backswing, their trunk is always going to be rotated at least approximately 90 degrees. So if you draw a line from your shoulders to the net, it should form a roughly 90-degree angle, or you should be perpendicular to the surface of the net. What this is going to allow you to do is now generate force from the rotation of your trunk. So the next time you step on the court, focus on, before you set up on any forehand, you're going to split. As you're positioning yourself to the ball, you're going to execute your unit turn, you're going to execute your backswing, and you should see by this point of my spar model and my 5-stage forehand model, we should see that our trunk is rotated at least 90 degrees to the net. To generate even more force, what we can try to do is achieve a semi-open stance. By achieving a semi-open stance, this is going to allow us to rotate our trunk more than our hips. This is going to create an extra pre-tension or stretch in the muscles responsible for trunk rotation, which, if I just go into a neutral stance and rotate, you'll see I'm able to get a pretty good amount of force from my rotation. But if I get into that semi-open, I create that extra biomechanical advantage from rotating my trunk more than my hips. Boom, I'm gonna get way more force, way more spin going into the shot. So focus on that checkpoint and you're gonna be executing power from your body from power source number 3. Let's now dive into power source number 2. The pros do, especially when the ball is high, is they not only generate power from what we covered, forward weight shift, leg drive, and rotation, but they're also gonna generate power just like on the serve from trunk lateral tilt. By focusing on laterally tilting your trunk into the ball, especially when it's high, you're not only gonna get more power because you're generating force from that part of the chest, but it's also gonna naturally raise your contact height as well. You can see here, if my chest is neutral versus laterally tilted, I'm gonna get that more optimal contact point without losing any power. So here's a basic 2-step progression you can use the next time you're on the court to develop this trunk lateral tilt. We're working with a friend. Your friend can just feed you and you can focus on stopping at contact, feeling yourself in that laterally tilted position. You can then gradually increase your power, focusing on generating all the force we've covered from those key checkpoints before. Loading into a semi-open, shifting the weight, and tilting the trunk. Just like that to get that effortless power. All right, world-class athlete, now we've covered power source number 4. Now let's dive in to the number 1 source of power. So piecing it together, let's say you perfectly shift your weight forward, you perfectly drive your legs, you flawlessly rotate and laterally tilt, but if you miss this final source of power, no matter how hard you try, all that power is not gonna translate into effortless consistency as well. The number 1 most important source of power, the way that the pros are hitting the shot with it still being consistent, is they're focusing of their arm by generating power from their pec, their shoulder, and their lat while keeping their wrist relaxed. The anatomical term for this source of power is known as horizontal shoulder adduction. Essentially, as you're accelerating, the 3 most common mistakes that players make is number 1, their mindset is, I've got to hit the ball hard. I've got to tighten up my arm. I've got to swing from the wrist. And this mindset of trying to tighten up or swing from your little muscles is the core roadblock that's preventing you from being able to hit the ball with spin, with control, with power, and just have so much fluidity, have so much fun every single time you hit on your forehand. So the key mindset to break is, rather than focusing on swinging from little muscles in a tight way, we want to swing from big muscles, strong muscles, in a more relaxed and fluid way to execute this adduction. The second most common mistake that's responsible for causing your hard shots to go out comes down to what I call the deceleration of the upper joint segment during your contact and follow through. So essentially, breaking down world-class biomechanics in the best players in the world, you'll see, according to my 2 frameworks, the spar model and the unit turn to follow through model, the pros will split, they'll execute their unit turn and backswing as they're positioning themselves to the ball, then they'll accelerate, they'll make contact, they'll follow through, then they'll recover. During that crucial phase of your contact and your follow through, where most club players go awry is, rather than accelerating the joint segment of their shoulder to their elbow to travel forward through the ball, they'll decelerate from this joint segment and they'll allow their wrist and their elbow to flex through the shot. So what this translates into is that when you're accelerating, rather than slowing down from the shoulder to the elbow and then flexing your arm across, which gives you that tight, weak, inconsistent shot. You rather want to keep the forearm and the wrist extremely relaxed as you adduct, as you accelerate your shoulder to your elbow all the way across the body. What that does is it keeps your wrists in an extended position, which is then going to allow you to generate force and topspin going into your shot just like that. But just remember, if you want to bomb your shot with as much power as you want and still have it go in, focus on generating power from your big muscles, keeping your little muscles relaxed, accelerating your upper joint segment through the ball and the contact and follow through, and maintaining the extended wrist and the loose forearm. I want to congratulate you for making it to the end of this video, and one crucial final important piece that I want you to remember is listen. No matter how much that you've tried, no matter how many hours that you've put on the court, struggling with improper technique, struggling to break through, leaving feeling frustrated, feeling dejected, just know that armed with the right technical instruction, with the right feedback, with the right drills, you can progress and you can develop world-class levels of technique. People fly from all over the world to come and work with me, and just in a matter of days, sometimes hours, they break through and they develop truly world-class levels of technique. Whether you're 4 years old or 80 years old, this is possible for you. I believe in you. The Forehand Transformation System uses my revolutionary step-by-step approach that I learned from studying alongside the world's best coaches like legendary master coach Rick Macy, who taught 5 world-renowned players. So you can click the link in the description and access this step-by-step world-class system that's going to help you develop world-class technique. It's my blessing and honor to be your coach. Let's think big. Let's get out on the court. Let's do the work. Develop that confidence. I'll see you in the next video. Let's go.